Hello and welcome to the DNA Fat Loss Podcast. Today I'm joined by Marwan Killu. Thank you so much for joining me today.
Nice to be on here, Alex. Great to talk to you.
Awesome. Do you want to give a brief introduction and we can dive into a few questions?
Yeah, sure. So, as you said, my name is Marwan. I work with men, help men lose 20 plus pounds of fat within kind of 90 days. But we do that without any diets, without any kind of time consuming workouts. That's the long and short of it, basically.
Awesome. Love it. Without diets, without long workouts. I think that's why one of the reasons I invited you on here. Our approach is very similar. So let's find out a little bit more about that. Do you mind sharing how you got into being a nutrition coach? How you got into helping people? Share a bit of your story.
Yeah, so basically back at university or college, as the guys in the States call it, I was always into kind of working out, to try and impress the girls and get on dates with girls. But I kind of didn't get the results that I kind of wanted. When I first started out in the gym, I wanted to be be muscular and have a six pack. And the guy, the trainer at the gym, I remember the guy at the gym was like, no, you can't do that. You can't do that. So, I tried to kind of work at university and do that. But, with university life and try to take care of my nutrition as much as I can. And still actually worked out through university, but it didn't quite get the results I wanted. I got married at 27 years old and I was well over 100 kilograms at that time. And, I was like, I had a bit of muscle, but not quite enough muscle to push me over the 100 kilograms. I was wearing size 42-inch trousers at that time. Yeah, so the years went by and, my weight started going up and down, and I had one day I had an epiphany, so to speak. We're going to Boston on a family holiday, and my wife took a selfie, kind of a family selfie with the kids, and put it on Facebook and stuff. And I looked at the picture at the time, and I was like, "Oh my God, what is going on? How have I got to this stage?" And I knew I looked at myself in the mirror and I knew that I wasn't in the best shape that I wanted, but I kept convincing myself that it was maybe because I didn't eat enough yesterday, or because I had a cheat meal the day before, or that I was holding on to water, or too much salt and all that kind of stuff, right? So anything not to admit the truth to yourself, the kind of thing. Yeah. So, as you can imagine, the trip didn't go down very well at all. I was very kind of self-conscious. I didn't know what to eat at that time. I was just confused. How did I get to that stage? And all the family were kind of looked at the pictures and they're like, what is he? Has he put on weight? Is everything okay? And so I was trying to working out in the gym, trying to spend I don't know, probably the entire week's trip in the gym and under kind of eating. We're going to restaurants and I'm like, I don't know, I don't want to eat this. I don't want to eat this. I still remember one time we went to the Cheesecake Factory and all this delicious food. And I was just there on the side thinking, no, I can't have this food. I can't have that food. So, a few I got back and got back home and I was determined to, change that. So gradually I kind of watched a lot of YouTube videos, took a few courses and read a few books and gradually changed myself and kind of became the go-to person at work. So I kind of there and then I discovered my passion for helping people.
Amazing. I think there's so many people who start their journey, their transformation, if you will, because of one photo, or there's that epiphany moment when...
That's it, exactly, yeah. You just get that moment and you think, boom, It's just, I looked at the photo and I was just I knew myself that I was deep down, that I was really needing to change. but I needed something else to think, right, okay, this was the real moment when I was like, okay, now it's time to really admit that you need to do something about it.
Yeah. So I want to ask then, looking back now, knowing what you know now and the way that you've helped your clients and stuff,
Yeah.
what would you have done differently? Because you were saying that you really cut down your eating, you're in the gym all the time whilst on this trip. How would you
Yeah.
have approached that differently? If, let's say, it was a client in a similar situation, what sort of advice would you give them?
The all or nothing approach doesn't work because you back yourself into a corner. So it's basically you kind of you get this talking, I can't have this today like today I'm going to go to the gym. It's like either 2 hours or nothing at all. And if there was a time where you eat something and you think, oh shoot, I've blown my diet now. I can't. I might as well just kind of carry on and start over the next week, kind of thing. So probably, yeah, really the all or nothing approach doesn't work. I think it's just start gradually and just build up from there. Rather than starting out and committing to something that you cannot do and then being harsh with yourself and kind of like saying that you can't stick to something. I think it's best to start off on something that you can commit, even something small. For example, 10 push-ups a day. It can be something as simple as 10 push-ups a day, which you can commit to, right? And then you can always build up from there. Build up to 20 push-ups, and then eventually build up to 1 day in the gym, and then 3 or 4 days according to your plan. And the same thing with your nutrition. Don't try and cut everything out and cut on don't. For example, if you're somebody who loves to eat a lot of food and have a lot of takeaways, if you're going to cut down on that food all the time, then what is going to happen is you're kind of leaving a big void. So when you're leaving that big void out, you have to replace it with something, and you're going to end up being so hungry and malnutritioned that eventually you're just going to crack, right? Because when you try and force the body, it reacts. The body doesn't like anything that's too bigger steps, kind of thing.
Yeah, great point. The body's very good at adapting to stimuli, but if you restrict, and take away, then and take a really vast move one way, it responds by flicking back really far the other way. You binge, you eat too much.
Carry on. It becomes a binge restrict cycle. And what really happened with me is, which I didn't really mention, is that I was on I kind of like, I didn't eat unhealthy, but I ate a lot as well. And so I wasn't keeping track of what food I was eating. But then I wasn't keeping track of my gym. So I was being in the gym sometimes 3 hours a day without even realizing, just like exercising. And it didn't get me anywhere because I didn't really have a plan, It was 3 hours one day, and then the next day, I'm too tired today, and all that kind of stuff.
That's really interesting because I've been there myself, both in terms of overeating good food. I'm putting good food in quotations because I don't really calling it good or bad, but overeating more healthy foods. I did that a lot in the past and kind of wondered why I wasn't making progress. But also I was the guy not going to the gym very often because it was a bit of a trek from where I used to live. But when I did go, like those 3-hour sessions, I would burn like 1,000 calories on the elliptical, the cross trainer, and then I'd do every single machine in the gym 4 times. Like, honestly, looking back now, I don't know where I got the energy to do that, but my training plan was so unstructured and so inconsistent, and I was just pummeling myself into the ground with every session. And then I was wondering why I didn't change. I would go home then and eat a big salad. Like,
Exactly. He's like a bird, it doesn't work like that because, like, in every, what's it called, in every area of life, we're taught like more is better, right? You work more hours, you get more money, you practice more, you get better. But with weight loss, it's not the same because you're dealing with the body, with the human body, and kind of it's governed by hormones. That's why people like professional bodybuilders take around 6 months, six up to 6 months to really diet down for single digit body fat for the show because they know that a too big a steep jump and the body will just start to react.
That's a really good point. Really good point. So I want to ask, what is one myth, a big myth that you have in your industry or in our industry that you would like to dispel right now?
Tough one, but I'm gonna go with there's a big myth that we need to lose weight once only, but that's not true because weight loss is a journey. It's not a destination. So you're always going to be on that journey, And I think, like I mentioned earlier, if you're going to be starting to cut down, it's a marathon, not a sprint, basically. If you're going to try and cut down so much at one time, then what's going to happen is it's going to start. It's going to be a never-ending cycle, basically. So you might as well kind of take it slow, approach it in a slow approach, and look to continually improve every day rather than just try and go for these like sprint finishes. Because everybody can do like 30 days, can't they? 30 days to like a bikini body or 30 days to this and that. But what really doesn't teach you, I mean, I'll call these like surface level programs, right? What they really don't teach you is how to lose weight and how to react in everyday life. Okay, because yeah, great, 14 days and 30 days this and vacation and this and great, you're all super motivated. But then when the kind of what's it called? I was going to use that like I don't want to kind of use the swear words, but when life gets in the way, basically, right? Life gets in the way, and that's when you kind of like know when the kind of the slow and the slow steady approach really works because it will teach you habits. Like 14 days and stuff. Nothing really. You don't really learn anything in 14 days. It's just like you get given like a certain meal plan, and you just follow that for 14 days, and most likely it's like either a keto or whatever. So you kind of go in really, really hard on this one, and then at the end of it, you come out and you kind of like at the end of the 14 days, yeah, you look great, you take all the photographs, but then afterwards, what happens afterwards? You kind of start to gain and gain and gain, and it's all because like you didn't become that person, So in order to be like lean, to get leaner, you got to become that person and develop the habits and rituals of these lean people. Because otherwise, you got to go back up, basically.
Yeah, it's such a great point. Like you see the day zero, the 30-day transformation, but you never see the 6 month, the 1 year, because
exactly, yeah.
No doubt they've gained back twice as much weight as they lost.
Yeah. And there's all these diets around like keto, paleo, and intermittent fasting. I'll get asked so many questions about keto and intermittent fasting. Like intermittent fasting is not magic. It can work for some people, and you probably are doing some form of intermittent fasting. Like for example, some days I won't eat beyond 8 o'clock, just because that's when I finish dinner. And then the next day, maybe I won't eat until 9 o'clock the next morning. So in essence, that's like 13 hours of fasting, right? But unless you're tracking your calories, you know exactly how much food that you're having. if you're going to have all that food in like, if you're going to have all that food in 2 hours or 6 hours or 24 hours, it doesn't matter. Because at the end of the day, it's how much food, total food that you have. So if you're not tracking how much food you're having, and then you go into intermittent fasting, and you wonder, shoot, why am I not losing any weight? Well, the problem being is that you are actually still. So it's basically, yeah. So then it's basically, the reason being is that you're eating too much.
Very interesting. As someone who's tried keto and kind of paleo and most of the low carb kind of diets, but also intermittent fasting. I'll touch on intermittent fasting because that's something I'm more familiar with. I use it now, and have been doing it for maybe a few years. However, in the early days when I was doing it because it was a fad and I thought it would transform my body overnight sort of approach, I would, because I hadn't like switched my mentality, my relationship with food wasn't great.
Yeah.
So I was doing it from a standpoint of restriction, which sounds very obvious, but I was restricting my food and I spent all day that I wasn't eating thinking about food, which then, even if my eating window was 4 hours or 6 hours, I would eat so much in those 4 hours or 6 hours. And I would effectively, I don't want to say undo, but effectively undo all of the benefit. That not eating during that other time.
It's scarcity, isn't it? It's scarcity. When something is scarce, you want more of it. And you think about like if you got any children, right? And if you kind of like you give them the toys, okay, you give them all these toys, and if you take away the toys that they don't want to play with, they don't play with most, you take that away, and they suddenly want that toy more. And it's the same thing with food, because when you start restricting so much, and it's like the brain thinks it's like starving, right? And really, that's what keto is about. You're kind of, I don't know why anybody would want to do keto, because you're just going to be miserable throughout your whole life. I'm not being like disrespectful or anything, but like, if you like somebody who likes rice or pasta or, whatever, right? The potatoes, you can't have any of this. Even some fruits, you can't have it because it's like supposedly like sugary, right? I mean, it's no way to live. It's no way to live. Probably the best way to murder your testosterone levels as well.
Yeah, we're touching on like a lifestyle. If you like eating rice, potatoes, pasta, etc., the worst thing you can do is choose a diet where you can't eat those, because your brain is literally going to spend the entire time that you're on this diet thinking, when does this end? When can I pig out and overcome this moment of scarcity by overindulging in the things that I have restricted? One of the things that I like to talk about is, you kind of touched on this earlier, is with these 30-day plans, these 14-day challenges. They're normally called challenges, aren't they? Because the idea is they challenge your
the challenges.
They challenge your norm. It's something that's temporary. It's something that you kind of go all in with. And I actively dislike them. I think they're very, very ineffective long term. I should say long term. Most people lose weight on them.
I mean, if you've got like a last sort of like, if you want to do a photo shoot or you want to go on vacation, they're great to get those last few pounds off and look great for your vacation. But you want something that's going to be incorporated into your lifestyle. Say that, for example, you're a busy man, right? An executive, so to speak, and you have to go to meetings all day. Right, you're in the office. Okay, so now because of COVID and stuff, a lot of people are working remotely. But if you got given a meal plan that you have to eat 6 times a day, how are you going to eat 6 times a day when you have all these, when you've got all these meetings going on and stuff? You're not going to follow the plan. And then when you're not going to follow the plan, then you're not going to get results.
Exactly.
So really, you want something lifestyle, sustainable, because if something is not sustainable, then the outcome is not maintainable, right? You can't get something that you're not able to sustain. So yeah, I mean, going back to keto, if you can sustain having no carbs for more than a couple of weeks, then be my guest. But honestly, you're going to feel like crap. Ask anybody who's tried taking out carbs. You're going to feel very lethargic. You're going to feel very moody, and you're going to get like a lot of brain fog. And and why would you want to take out carbs? Because carbs are like 4 calories in a gram, whereas the fat is 9 calories. It's all this kind of like media stuff that makes you think that the carbs are the enemy. And it's because of like it gives you energy.
Yeah, very true, very true. I like to say or think of it in the way that if you can do it on your busiest, hardest day, if you can maintain this healthy lifestyle, way of eating, nutrition plan, whatever you want to call it, on your hardest day, that's the best indicator that you will be able to sustain it. If you can only do something on your best day, when you're feeling your most motivated, then as soon as anything goes wrong, as soon as something unexpected comes up and you have to, get in the car for 2 hours, you have to go to 12 hours of meetings, everything collapses, and then that triggers, this domino effect of, questioning yourself, and it's just this terrible. Whereas if you go so simple that you can do it even when you're really stressed and even when you have
exactly. Yeah. So everything in moderation, basically. You got to do everything in moderation, because otherwise it's. But again, moderation is like, okay, how much is moderation? It's whatever you can kind of like tolerate, right? So not too much, and somewhere in the middle, ideally. So if you can exercise if you don't need to exercise 6 days a week or go and work out 6 days a week to lose weight, you can do whatever you can.
Just as a side note there, today I'm not working out, and before this call, the room was getting really cold. I was really cold. I was like, I've got 5 minutes. I'm not doing a workout, but I just went down and did a set of push-ups and then did a set of mountain climbers, and I'm warm, and I've done a bit of movement, gets my blood flowing, gets me going, and that took me a couple of minutes whilst I waited, to jump on the call. That's
so something very simple. Yeah, you can do something very simple. We have the excuse that I keep getting is like, I don't have time, but or when I find time, but where are you going to find time from? Time doesn't hide under the mattress. It doesn't hide under the sofa. It doesn't disappear. It's almost like Grant Cardone talks about creating bandwidth, right? And that's what the most successful people really do, is they create the bandwidth. They kind of make their time for something. It's like my mentor said to me before, is like, if you want to make time, if you think that yourself you're like too busy, then add something to your calendar and guarantee that you'll find the time. You'll like, not find, but you'll make time for something, because it'll make you think. You've got to be efficient. It's more of a productivity kind of thing, right? So you get up in the morning. What time do you get up? Okay, I'll get up early, but what do you do with the time that you got up? Did you scroll on social media? Did you check Facebook? Did you check Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn now? What else is there? How long for? Did you hit snooze? And that's probably the biggest peeve of all, is like hitting snooze. Because when you hit snooze first thing in the morning, you're breaking that big first promise to yourself, right? So most people are like waking up and they're like reactive to the whole world. They kind of like, they wake up in the morning and they check the mobile phone, and they don't have time for themselves first thing in the morning. They're slaves to their like electronics and the news, the outside media, because you think, well, okay, how is the news controlling me? Well, they're controlling your thoughts first thing in the morning. When I wake up first thing in the morning, I do not touch my mobile phone. I don't answer any text messages. I don't check any emails. I just go about my day, because that's my like 2 hours of peace before the wife and the children wake up, to get my work done. And if I do that, if I find that if I stray from that, I go and check in the news, what's happening with the US elections or what's happening with lockdowns and stuff, then my mind just like goes astray the rest of the day, and I don't end up as productive. So I was like, well, okay, you're saying so it's okay to check the news for like 5 minutes, it's okay to do this, it's okay to do that. And you find it's like, gosh, where's the time gone? What have I done with my time?
Waking up, checking your phone, checking email, you're starting your day on other people's terms.
Yeah, other people's agenda, yeah. And I mean, like, emails are going to be there when you get back, when you go, the best thing to really, like, the best time to really exercise is first thing in the morning, because that's when you're clear. The rest of the time, especially if you're like a busy guy, right? And you just gonna like, 5 o'clock, nobody wants to go and train at 5, 6 o'clock in the evening, especially when you've got done all these meetings and stuff, right? So you've been on Zoom for like 5, 6 hours, you've gone from meeting to meeting, you've had a bad day, maybe the accounts are not great, right? Your meeting didn't go according to plan. So you just want to go home and have like sit down in front of the sofa and stuff like this. So first thing in the morning, when you go out and like exercise first thing in the morning, it's like you almost like a new person, right? Because you've made time for yourself, and use like it kind of working out in the morning. It makes it such a It makes such a big difference to your overall day. You're kind of like, now you're stacking wins over another, right? So now you're saying to the whole world, I am in control of my day rather than the day controlling me.
Yeah, that's a brilliant point. And earlier you touched on like the identity of like becoming a healthy, active person, and by not hitting the snooze button, not sitting there scrolling through social media, and by getting up and getting a workout and starting your day off right, you're immediately casting a vote, should we say, for the identity that you are trying to become. Because let's be honest, most people are on this journey of trying to become more healthy, so they're trying to stack up as much evidence as possible to.
Yeah, and you're also like creating a what's it called? You're creating like wins, shall we say? You're stacking wins, and you're creating a. I was trying to think of the right word now. What was I trying to say?
Basically, rolling a snowball, like when you build a snowman.
You're creating confidence to yourself, right? Because you made a promise last night that I'm going to go and train tomorrow morning, and then you wake up, it's like, when I hit snooze, it's cold. My bed is really warm, and you wake up and then you check like social media, and then you go into work, and like subconsciously, right, you're just going to think, gosh, I don't get a workout in today. And you feel guilty about it, and it kind of eats inside you that whole time. It's like guilt feeling, it's that confidence. And it makes a big difference, because when you suddenly like make that first promise to yourself that you're going to train, suddenly it's just like you get this whole confidence inside you, and it's like it's subconscious. The way you speak becomes better, the way you move, the way you kind of act. It's all stems of like this confidence that you made from the promise to yourself.
I think that's a huge takeaway from this conversation, is that listeners can take away, is that the confidence you can gain through a fat loss journey, let's just assume, it's not just from losing the weight and, let's say, looking better aesthetically, being healthier. It's the trust you build in yourself during the journey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's finding yourself, isn't it? It's finding yourself and who you really are. That you can, because people don't believe, like, it's when you go and work out with iron, it changes you, because you become that person. You look at that piece of iron and it's like right, I'm owning you, right? You're kind of lifting something that your body is not used to, and then you're pushing through this barrier really in the gym, it's like, come on, one more rep. You know, I can do this. I can do this. And then you kind of really get this adrenaline going, you know. And at the end of it, like, oh, that felt really good. I want to do that again.
You're making me miss the gym.
I know. I'm training at home. Luckily, before the lockdowns, bought a few kettlebells. And so I've been training with like kettlebells and dumbbells for the whole time.
Nice.
I do miss the gym though, with the kind of like the barbell squats and the deadlifts and all these variations, you know, pushing the prowler and tire flipping. I do miss all these. Unfortunately, I don't have a large enough back area to fit all these things in there.
Yeah, very lucky to have. I'm very lucky to have a 20 kilo kettlebell just to my side, and then a set of resistance bands. There's actually a local park. It's like 2 minutes walk. It's perfect.
Oh yeah.
That has parallel bars and monkey bars. Monkey bars. Is that what
oh yeah. Monkey pull-up bars. Yeah.
But I mean, if you're being creative, obviously they're designed for kids. But I go and I take my antibacterial wipes and I go and do a chest push workout, and then I'd go and do some pull-ups.
Exactly.
I think the takeaway there is it doesn't need to be complicated. Again, coming back to this all or nothing thinking.
Yeah.
Most of us go, oh, I can't get to the gym, I'll do nothing. Whereas, you know, I could do a few, let's say, split squats with a kettlebell, and I'll run off to the park the next day and do, even if it's like 4 sets of dips, like that's a workout. It doesn't have to be much. It might take me 10 minutes, even 10-15 minutes.
Yeah. Anything is better than nothing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because if you think about it, like over the last week or so, we've had 2 weeks we've had homeschooling, right? And so I've stopped on my routine. Like I haven't worked out as much as I want to, and haven't really like gone out for walks and stuff. And I just kind of I haven't felt the same person, you know? Felt more stressed. I'm not sleeping as well as I was doing before. My head is not clear when I wake up in the morning. You know, there's a lot of chit chat going on between me and my my other brain, right? And it's just like it makes such a difference having to work out, because it's that kind of release. And then you're speaking with people, and then all the kind of here is like all this about, you know, lockdown and corona and all this kind of thing. So when people are like watching the news all the time, they become like reactive, right? And so it's like it gets stored in your kind of, you tighten up because you're not doing anything about it.
I think watching the news, for me, it's never been something I do. I always found it kind of depressing, and it really sort of, especially before bed. I know my parents watch it like religiously, the 10 o'clock news before they go to bed. And I think, from my standpoint,
it's the worst thing you can do, because you watch the news, and what happens when you watch the news? You go to bed. What happens when you go to bed? You take all these thoughts into your subconscious mind, and you think about them whilst you sleep. Right? So people who watch the news, I want to keep up with the news that's going on, but right, namely the feelings that you feel when you watch the news. Right? So you feel what? Depressed, anxious, angry, you fear, sadness, that's 5 that I've named so far. I'm sure there's more that we can
lack of control.
Lack of control. Lack of control. And fear is probably the biggest thing, because it's debilitating, right? Like these guys are the business, the news media are business. So they're selling you fear. What happens when you're fearful? You're like, you got to stay in your house. You can't go out. You can't do this. You can't do that. And what happens is it gets into your mind. And so you become scared to do anything. You're scared to go out of your front door. You're scared to talk to your neighbors. You know, you're scared to see people outside because they've been telling you about this, you know, this thing that's going on, that you cannot see people. You know?
Yeah, I think one of the main things with news and, you know, a lot of things on social media is it's just outside of your control. And I just think if it's outside of my control, I literally can't do anything about it,
I don't like my sole use for social media is to basically use it for my business. I don't scroll. I don't do anything. I don't want to know what they're talking about and stuff. If I really want to see what's going on with the news, I know where I'm going to find it. I'm going to go on YouTube. I'm going to go on certain people that I trust who will give me the news that I'm looking for rather than the media.
Brilliant. Well, that was very. I didn't expect to be talking about.
Yeah. I mean, we can
watching the
spend
news
all
and
day
stuff,
talking about the news and stuff.
but it all ties in. I think a fat loss journey, weight loss journey, a health transformation is a very holistic thing, and these elements, getting up and hitting the snooze button, getting up and going on social media, watching the news before bed, these are all things that impact your ability to undertake the daily actions and start to develop the daily habits
Yeah.
that lead to your.
Yeah, because guess what happens when you're watching the news or you're sitting down on Netflix the whole time? What do you like doing? You're going to be eating the whole time, right? And you're going to be eating the whole time. What happens? You're going to be like so engulfed in the news, and you're just like not paying attention to what you're eating or how much you're eating. Okay, because you're enjoying food so much, or you're not paying attention. So you're like it's a way of release sometimes when you watch something that you don't like, bad news, you start to eat a lot more, right?
Could you briefly explain, a couple of the key steps that you go through when you work with clients to help them lose 20 pounds or more? How does that kind of work?
So basically, I get on a call with clients. Basically, the first step is seeing whether or not that that client is suitable for to work with, whether or not I can help them. Because some people, believe it or not, I cannot help because of certain limitations, or not everybody is coachable, so to speak, right? So the first thing is the person has to be coachable. You got to be able to kind of listen and undertake like feedback and stuff. So once that kind of established, then we get another call and see how we can help that person, and kind of discuss things in more detail, and then we kind of talk about whether or not then it's like they make a decision of whether or not to join. So once the person joins, obviously, then we get on we have like weekly check-ins. They get a program, they get like a kind of like a recommendation, so to speak, or like nutrition. Some people will want like a meal plan, but the majority of men that I really work with don't seem to like meal plans too much, because then it's like I'm told, should we say, it almost takes their freedom away, right? To be able to make decisions for themselves. So really my job at the end of the 90 days is to make sure that the guys that I work with are able to make decisions on themselves without having to rely on the coach. So I understand, because losing weight is more about than just what you eat. Everybody knows that vegetables are healthier for you than pizza, right? Everyone knows chicken breast is better than a burger. But it comes to more than just being able to select the right food. It comes to behaviors around food. It becomes to thoughts. Kind of the identifying the patterns really that lead to them getting into that stage. And some people another thing is they get access to me. They get access to me as well. So pretty much 24/7, except at times that when I'm asleep. Okay, so somebody's got a question about the program, or got a question about something to eat, or they go into a restaurant and they need to kind of ask a certain question. Then I'm there for them. And sometimes it's just a general chat about something. Because transforming your body is not easy, right? It's not easy doing it alone. You're going to go through highs and you're going to go through a lot of lows. And that's when you really need somebody on the other side that's kind of just to even like a phone call to say, right, am I doing this right? Is this the right way? Yeah. So, we get to like the end of the week and then we make like adjustment according to that person's need. That's kind of briefly how it works.
Awesome. Very individual, lots of support, lots of accountability. But that's
it's accountability and support, isn't it? Because that's when you really need it, right? It's not about telling them to eat this kind of food or to eat that kind of food. It's just identifying those little things that they cannot really see. Because you're looking at things from a 30,000 foot view rather than a sort of a zoom, a kind of a telephoto lens, right? Rather than an inside, what's it called? An inside look. So when you're doing something yourself, you're like, you don't always see what you're doing wrong or what you're doing. So you need an eyes on the outside.
Yeah, that's such a good point. That's one of the key, I guess, values of having a coach. It's you are your own worst enemy in terms of spotting your mistakes and things that you do, because we do like 50% of our action each day is completely automatic. It's just driven by our subconscious, like tying shoelaces.
Yeah.
You never think, when you're walking, you never think left foot, then right foot, then left foot, then right. You never think about that. You just walk, right?
Yeah, it's all patterns. Yeah. And I mentioned that we all have patterns which we go by. And those patterns, like even when you walk, it's a pattern which the body, your body kind of fires up in certain order, right? You don't think, okay, I've got to get the glutes to work, and then I've got to get the kind of the anterior tibialis, and then the hamstring and stuff. The body does that in a certain order, and it's like a split second to like change if something is not quite working. It's like a split second reaction to like engage another muscle and another muscle. And so our kind of actions are like more or less automatic like that as well, when how you act with food. So if you think about it, like before you start, say you eat your breakfast at 9 o'clock, and the body will start to like, you feel really hungry about 9 o'clock because the body is like thinking, oh, I'm really hungry. That's really my time to eat, because it wants you to like, it kind of not make you hungry, but it's like kind of telling you it's time to eat so that you eat, you give you appetite.
Yeah, hunger is so cyclic. It's quite funny when we're creatures of habit, aren't we? And if we normally eat at 12, we have lunch at 12. Every day at 12, your hunger will come and go. Oh, it's time to eat, Alex. It's very, very funny, very interesting. So, if you could get the entire population to do one thing every day, what would it be and why?
Oh, that's an easy one. Move more, basically. You don't need a formal exercise every day. You need daily movement, okay? Because emotion is created by motion, right? That's from, if you watch Tony Robbins, he talks a lot about that. And if you find, it's actually very true, because if you sat around, like we talked about it earlier, if you sat around all the time, you're going to tighten up, right? You're in that kind of environment. The body is designed to move. We're born to like, we're hunter-gatherers, aren't we? So we're born to like go out and hunt for food and stuff, and kind of almost like the kind of animals of prey, right? We're not designed to be caged in. So if you look at the countries, the people who live the highest are the ones are like typically the countries where the people are outside the whole time. So you've got like the Mediterranean countries, and like I think Japan and China and stuff. Those people are always doing something, even though they're like, some countries are poorer than the US and the UK and and stuff like that, but they are actually they're doing something, whether it's gardening, whether it's going out for walks, whether it's building or like DIY. So for example, I live in an area with like predominantly older population. A lot of the people here are like in their 70s and 80s, and I want to go out walking around the area, and a lot of people I see like outside in the gardens or in their garages working on DIY or working on their cars. They're doing something. So that's, if you're like, they're like, some of them are like in their 80s and they're walking their dogs. They can barely move, they can barely walk and they're walking their dogs. They're like with their stick and they're out walking.
It's incredible, isn't it? It's
Yeah, it's
unfortunately,
incredible mentality, yeah, because these people know that if they sit around the whole day, they're going to wilt away.
yeah, it's unfortunately something, I guess, that's not been kind of passed down generationally so much. Like prior to, I guess, technology has made things so convenient that we just don't have to get
Yeah,
up and
yeah, yeah. I
move
mean,
around
think
so much.
about it now. Yeah, okay, you want a Domino's, just call it Domino's. You want Nando's, call Uber Eats. Just go and pick it up from the thing. You want your shopping, call the just go on the internet and do online online shopping will come to you straight away.
But with this phone, I'm holding my phone up for people who listen to the podcast. I can have food delivered to my door. I can have Amazon Prime within probably 24 hours.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
anything I need, I can access via this device. It's just crazy. And think about blue zones. So blue zones, I think, is a technical term for areas around the world where people live, have a high percentage of people who live to 100. And there are, ancient tribes who have incredible longevity because they're still hunter-gathering tribes. They're still on their feet all day, eating not processed McDonald's, not going down to a local supermarket and getting food, but they're killing animals and they're drinking the blood and all these, how do I say, like caveman-esque things. But they're living to such an old age with such great health because they're just moving and using their body as it's become, I guess.
As it's meant to be, exactly. Yeah. We're meant to use our bodies, yeah. And a lot of it, like we're sitting behind the computer the whole time. I was, before I was doing this, I was doing a lot of driving work and stuff. Like I was an area manager, and it was just like constant driving, sitting behind the wheel in that fixed position, and then going back home and typing on the computer and stuff. It's not great because you carry a lot of tension in the eyes, and then you've got like the neck, and that feeds all the way down to the rest of the body. I think the majority of the people's problems happen is because they carry extra weight because they're sitting down the whole time. And the majority of people's back pains is from sitting down.
Yeah, it's terrible, isn't it?
Because what's the biggest muscle in the body? Is your glutes are the biggest muscle in the body, right? So if these muscles are not functioning properly, they give you stability between the upper and the lower body. So then if that doesn't work properly, then, sorry, we're doing a little bit of like anatomy here. And then like the lower back has to work a lot harder and to move, which is not designed to move, right? And the lower back starts to move too much. And then the body is like, I'm not happy with this. So it'll start giving you signals in terms of pain to let you know that, don't do that to me.
Yeah, such a great point. The knock-on effect of sitting too much is terrible. Yeah.
The thing is that people who start going to like chiropractors start getting their back clicking and stuff, and they wonder why, like, 3 weeks later the back still hasn't healed. And they keep going back and going back. It's because they haven't really sorted the source of their problem, so to speak. Because where you feel, it might be the lower back that you're feeling, but how's your neck doing? How's your shoulders? Are your shoulders rounded? Is your neck right? What about your eyes?
Yeah, I think lockdown's made it worse as well because we're getting out less.
Basically, yeah.
Although from one side, in summer, I did spend I was very lucky, could spend most of the time outside, but and now winter, especially the weather's pretty cold, pretty rainy. A lot of us are just sat inside, not really going out much at all. And we end up sitting behind our desks. Devices are where we work. Devices are where we entertain ourselves. TVs, phones.
I was going to say that there's no such thing as bad weather. There's inappropriate clothes, or there's no such thing as inappropriate weather. right? I'm like, okay, within reason, right? So I'm not expecting anyone to go out in like -20 or something, and go out and walk outside. But there's like inappropriate clothing. For example, when it's like raining and stuff, I go out pretty much for walks with my dog every day, like 40 minutes minimum, even if it's raining. You know, put a couple of overalls, and you're good to go.
That's a great mentality to have. Actually, it's I guess weather can be used as an excuse, and the more we give ourselves excuses, the more we come back to what we discussed earlier. The more we reduce that trust in ourselves to take action towards doing the thing that we need to do. So, yeah, just I guess what can help you lose weight is buy a raincoat, because then you're not going to give yourself.
And then they're not that expensive either. I picked one up from Amazon for under 20, under 20 quid. So it's like, it's ideal. You just put it over your jacket and then you just walk.
Simple.
And it's great because like going to something else, you're like pushing yourself beyond the norm, like being in the weight room, right? It's saying to your brain that I can do this. So the first thing you go out and then you think, oh, it's a bit cold. And then it's like a minute later, oh, suddenly it's warmed up again,
Yeah.
And if you're in the UK, it rains pretty much every day. So what do? You don't go out at all,
Yeah, I'm looking forward to summer. However, having said that, rain is not an excuse to stay indoors. Okay, this has been fantastic, really, really interesting. I think we've covered several topics we didn't really foresee, but all very relevant.
It's been great.
Yeah, it's been very, very interesting. So, Marwan, tell us where we can find you. Where can the listeners find you?
I'm on LinkedIn. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can send me a connection request or send me a DM. I post pretty much every day. Send me a DM with any questions that you have. I'd love to connect with you, and chat about anything that you kind of need. You can find me on Instagram as well. I'm on Instagram as well. Although I'm not as regular on Instagram as I am on LinkedIn.
Okay, cool. And just to help the listeners to find you, your name is spelt Marwan, and then Killu is Killu.
That's the one.
Cool. Right, thank you very much. Been a wonderful conversation, and look forward to seeing what the listeners have to say. So thank you very much for your time today.
Great. Thanks for having me on, Alex. It's been great. I had a great hour and a bit.